The question reads, a girl rides her bike to the north at 10 meters per second, then turns to the west and continues to ride at 10 meters per second. What is the girl's change in velocity? So the initial velocity is, let's see here, that's going to be 0 in the x plus 10 in the y meters per second. The final velocity is negative 10 in the x plus 0 in the y meters per second if we let north be plus and east be plus. So change in velocity is the final velocity minus the initial velocity. So that will be negative 10 in the x plus 0 in the y minus 0 in the x plus 10 in the y, both meters per second. So that becomes negative 10 in the x minus 10 in the y meters per second. So the magnitude of the change in velocity is the square root of the x part squared minus the y part squared. So that's negative 10 squared plus negative 10 squared. So that equals, let's see here, the square root of 200, which is 14.14 meters per second. And the direction of the change is the inverse tangent of the y component over the x component, which is the inverse tangent of 1, which is 45 degrees. But since the x component is negative, we add 180. And that gives us, what's that? 225 degrees. Okay, so it's this magnitude, this direction. Now, what if we wanted to do it graphically? Does it match up and make sense? So, if this is the initial velocity, and we want to add some thing so that we end up with the final velocity. The final velocity is going to be, let's see how we're going to do this. This is the final velocity, right? And going from the initial velocity to the final velocity is the change in velocity. So let's see if that works. Initial velocity plus change in velocity equals final velocity. So we get head tip to tail for these two, so that equation would read initial velocity plus the change in velocity equals the final velocity. Therefore, the change in velocity is final velocity minus initial velocity. So the math is the same here and here. And notice, therefore, if this is 10 and this is 10, then this magnitude would be the same 14.4 or 14.14 meters per second. And what's this direction? Well, if we look at this being the y, this being the x, the fact that these are both the same size tells me that yes, this would have to be, or this, either one, has to be 45 degrees. So going all the way around would be 180 plus 45, which is our 225 degrees. And that's how we do it both ways.